Randomness? It's a girl thing. Planning your entire future with a guy you've only spoken 3 words to? It's a girl thing. Online shopping problem? It's a girl thing. A full camera roll? It's a girl thing. Going to the bathroom together? It's a girl thing. You name it. It's a girl thing.
Hi, and welcome back to the It's a Girl Thing podcast. It's your host, Kate, and I'm really excited about today's guest. We have Kobi here. She's coming to us from Australia, and she's got some exciting things to say. So yeah, welcome, Kobi, and come tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. I'm super duper excited. This is my first podcast ever, so I was super excited when Kate messaged me. I was like, oh my God, yes, 1000% when and how can we get this done? So yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, like you said, I'm Kobi Walker from Australia. I'm 17 years old. I run 2 businesses. I'm sure we'll get into that. And I also do a bit of track.
Just a little bit. I swear you do it all, and I don't know how. How do you find managing school? Just do you enjoy school? Are you someone who actually enjoys learning, or are you just nah, get me out of here, let's just push through and survive?
I definitely think school's one of those things where it's you're gonna have your days where you're okay, this is a slog, this is hard, it feels like a drag, but all in all, I love learning, and I especially think in these senior grades, I've really enjoyed being able to choose the subjects that I get to do, because I feel that I'm doing things that actually interest me rather than just, your mundane, we're all just doing history for no reason. So no, I do enjoy learning. It definitely, school sometimes adds that extra hecticness where I'm oh, come on, I need this assignment just to be done. But yeah, no, school is school. 1 more year. I'm sure I'll say I'll miss it when it's all gone and I'm into the real world.
Wholeheartedly. I feel that as someone who's just graduated, I'm okay, this has come to the end. What am I? Where am I now?
Exactly, because it's all we've known for our whole lives. That routine of getting up in the morning and get home in the afternoon, that's all we know. So it's a whole new world, and we all have to navigate it. But yeah, it can be a bit scary.
I just wish that we weren't put into categories as kids. I feel you had the sporty kids, the smart kids, and then the popular kids, and then obviously you're dropkicks who were just the bad kids, supposedly.
Yeah, I think with teachers, obviously, especially when I feel when you're in primary school and you're in one class all the time, but they also section you into those as well. And I'm sure it would be hard. It's a very hard job, but I often felt for the kids that struggled a bit with learning, and they did either take a bit longer or they weren't as interested, and they'd kind of get neglected a bit, because they were seen to not be trying or whatever.
Just because they weren't naturally good at something straight away. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's something that needs to change, because everyone's smart in their own ways. I could never play professional football. I could never be an electrician. But
Exactly,
somebody's got to do those things.
Yeah, or I'm not going to be able to paint the mural on the wall, or
absolutely not.
Or be the journalist for the Olympics, but hey, I could give geography a go. So yeah, I think we all had different strengths, which is why I really enjoyed high school, or I do enjoy high school in the senior years, because you are picking what you're interested in, and a lot of the time the kids in your class are like-minded in that same classroom. So no, I do enjoy that.
What kind of subjects do you guys get? I wonder how similar they are to ours.
So the subjects we could choose from for senior were math and English, and then there was different sort of levels. So you have essential, general, and specialists. And then we have all your sciences, so bio, physics, chemistry, business, economics, accounting, visual arts, what else? Food and nutrition, hospitality, textiles, all your... What about you guys? What do you have?
We have all your standard ones, the ones you've just listed off. Then we have the option to do things called VLN subjects.
Oh.
So they're subjects that we don't have tutors or teachers for at our school. So I know some kids in my year who took psychology.
Right.
And once a week they'd have a Zoom call with a tutor, and they'd do that, and then they'd get assigned work throughout the week. So they'd get class periods like you would for a normal subject, and they'd have to work on their distance work.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to do psychology. We do have something similar in terms of having the spares, and it's taught by an external group. They can do a business diploma or a vet course, which is they can go in and do nursing and stuff, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Well, for me, because I did one advanced subject a year ahead when I was in year 10, it meant that I had a whole subject line free in year 13. And they were oh, well, you've got to do something. We have these things called STAR courses, which are essentially you do a 1 semester university paper. The school pays for it, but it's like digital. So
Wow.
I did that, and that was really weird because I'm like, well, technically I'm doing this like university thing, but it feels really ununiversity level.
Yeah. Just too smart for it. Like, give me something harder, please.
Well, I did like a Health 101 kind of style course, and it was
Yeah.
essentially the stuff you would learn, some of the stuff you'd learn for like health and well-being in health class at school. So it was like
Oh.
all your well-being kind of things. And I was like, okay, I kind of learned this back in year 9, but let's touch on it some more.
Yeah, we'll recap. That's so cool.
But I guess it meant I didn't have to overly stress doing that one as well.
Yeah, true. That's exactly right.
What subjects do you take?
Business, economics, biology, and then math and English. And I also have like, so my school is like world like athlete credited. So we get like extra funding and stuff for like physios and like on school dietitians and stuff like that. So I'm in athlete development program where I get a spare like 4 spares a week to like
That's
catch up on other stuff.
awesome.
It's really good. And I definitely think in terms of managing my like school work and sport load, having that 4 extra hours whilst I'm at school to do whatever I need to do, whether that be training or like extra schoolwork or homework, really like I actually couldn't do it without it. So that's definitely super
Do you
helpful for
do
me.
you guys get like free periods or study periods at
Yeah.
school as seniors?
Yeah, as seniors, which is such a godsend, like in junior school. Obviously, you think you need it, but you don't. Like, so
Yeah.
that's yeah, we get 2 a week, which is the whole cohort. It's so good.
Oh yeah. We essentially for our free periods we essentially got one subject line. So
Okay.
we did like 6 subjects up until year 12 or year 11, and then it suddenly dropped to 4, 5, I think it was, and then you got one study period line.
Oh, okay. That's
So
cool as yeah.
that was definitely made it more manageable. But I know my fair share of people who did not do schoolwork during those hours.
Netflix. So like, did you guys ever do like did it go around New Zealand doing 2020? It was like 2048 or something cupcakes, and you'd have to like match the cupcakes.
Yeah.
You guys had that? Oh my
Yeah.
God, we were all obsessed with that when we were a bit younger.
Oh, what was the thing this year? In my history class, I somehow did really well. Somehow, I don't know, because I'd start an assessment that the teacher gave us like the day you got it. And I'd ask him a
Yeah.
bunch of questions. I'd be starting this assessment. I'd write about a paragraph and I'd have like 3 weeks left of this assessment. I'd spend 2 of those weeks just like online shopping, playing
That
Wordle on
is
my
the like
laptop in class. And then all of a sudden, the
yes.
last 3 days, I'm like, wait, I have to finish this assessment. Sir, I just have a question.
I also haven't read over this for the past 3 weeks because I'm in done.
It's
That
like,
is
yeah.
so me. Like some people like to, they work really well when they only have like a day to do it. I'm like, get the assignment. I'd rather get it done, have like 2 weeks to nut it out and like just refine it a little bit. I'm so like you. Like I just want to get it finished. I'm not about like fluffing it out and wasting my time. And questions. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad for all my teachers. Like I asked so many questions, which I guess that's how some people learn, but like, oh my God.
Well, my calculus teacher by the end of the year, when he gave us all his like cell phone number and his obviously like school email, while we were on study leave, he was like, if you get stuck on any questions in your practice papers, send me a email photo and then text me to say you've sent me an email. So my email titles got better and better because I was sending like 3 questions a day. It started with like, help, please. Hi, it's me again. Yes, unfortunately, I do have another question. So much that the day before the exam, I was like, genuinely, I'd sent him so many questions that day. I'm like, I promise this is the last one. I can't guarantee it, but I promise it's the last one.
That's so good.
But his logic was, as long I'd rather it helped you pass than you not asking and failing. So
Yeah.
let's get into some questions. Well, we've answered my first question, which was what year are you at school? So that was pretty self-explanatory. So what sports do you do and like how often do you train and what kind of stuff do you do for training?
Yeah, so I actually originally started as a netballer, and then when COVID hit and all our trainings got cancelled, I started running around with mum and dad. Both my parents played professional sports, so mum was a professional netballer and dad played professional rugby league. So fitness and sports always been a really big part of my life. But when we went back to school after COVID, I'd done a bit of running, like just because that was really all you could do when we were in lockdown, and placed second at cross country. And then the coach was like, oh, like, would you join the cross country team? I was like, oh yeah, like I'll come down. And I used to do cross country at school, like in grade 7, and at like our big comp, I came 96th. Spoiler alert, last year I got second by a millisecond, which it was a bit disheartening, but you got to take what you can. Yeah, so I do cross country and athletics, or track more specifically, like 1500, 3K, and then in cross country it ranges between like 4K to 6K as you get older. So training for me, usually have like 3 hard sessions a week in terms of like running, which could be on the track or hills, just depending on what like season or sort of block we're in. I'll have an easy run and a long run, and then I do a bit of cross training and gym as well. So, I mean, it keeps me busy for sure,
Definitely.
but I really do it. Just like any sport, it's monotonous, and there's a couple of weeks where it's like, okay, this is just like the same thing over and over again. But that's what makes, I feel, the best. And if you don't like it, then really don't do it.
What's considered like a hard session? Like you're saying you do like 3 hard sessions. What like is that? How would you describe that?
Yeah, so usually start with a warm up, and then you could have a track session. So that could be an example for like when we're in cross country season, you could have like a build, so like a 1500-meter build, then like 6 800s, and then maybe like 5 200s at the end of that, and then warm down. So yeah, that's quite like quick stuff. Or like you could have like 10 500-meter hill loops as the main part of the session, with like warm up and warm down either side. You also do a bit of like threshold training as well, so it's good. Fartlek, just like heart rate is going, that's for sure.
So like yeah, just like demanding physically, essentially.
100%.
Okay. How do you find having a social media presence as well as like being at high school?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one. I really do like this question, because a lot of people do say to me like, oh, like, do people ever mock you at school, or like, and I can't speak on behalf of everyone that's ever, not to mention I don't have heaps and heaps of following. I'm not like huge, like 20,000 to me is like, wow, like I can't believe that many people follow me, but it is quite like a
Hey, that's a
considerable.
dream for me, honestly. So you're still doing pretty darn well.
But I've never experienced at school any of the girls. I do go to an all-girls school, so I've never experienced any of the girls, at least to my face, say anything mean or hurtful. And I think a big turning point for me, and what my TikTok has allowed me to do, or social media in general, is it has allowed me to not care what other people think. I think when we're a bit younger, and I especially found in like grade 9, or when I was like, that 13, 14, when we're all kind of like finding ourselves, especially as girls, I think we do get a bit caught up, or you can get a bit caught up in what everyone else thinks, or like what everyone else looks like, and like, am I doing enough? And, all that sort of stuff, which I definitely did have not issues with, but it definitely troubled me, just like most people. And allowing having my TikTok allow me to be like, no, like, this is me, take it or leave it. Like, this is who I am. So yeah, it's only ever been positive for me. And I always love being able to like have a platform and talk about things that I do care about, or share my life. And people seem to find it interesting. So I guess I just keep going on with that.
Well, I guess it's a good thing, especially when you've like built a consistent like community on the platform, that you've got these people constantly showing up. It's like, well, you can not like me, but I have 20,000 people who do and want to see more about me in my life. Well, clearly I'm doing something right.
Yes. And I think something that I really like to live by is blowing out someone else's candle doesn't make yours shine any brighter. Like, just because you put me down, like, if that means you can sleep at night, then so be it. Like, I think it's more of a reflection of the person on the other end than it is of yourself.
I say something more along the lines of like, people are going to judge you regardless, so why not give them something to actually judge you for?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that.
So it's like people are going to make those assumptions and going to say what they like, but why would you stop doing it?
Exactly. And we're all entitled to our own opinions. As long as I'm not doing anything to like offend anyone, or like wrong by proper social standards, then, not everyone has to like you. We're not everyone's cup of tea. There's people that I love and people that maybe I wouldn't get along with so well, but that's just how it is. Like, that's what life is. So yeah.
It is. You're not going to be friends with everybody as much as you'd like to be. why did you choose to start like Kobe's Kitchen / Kobe's Collective?
Yeah, so it started off as Kobe's Collective
Yeah,
when I launched.
that's why I put both.
Yeah, yeah. When I launched my cookbook, it was Kobe's Collective, and then as I kind of started posting and really refining what I wanted this brand to be, I noticed like a big gap in the sense that we all do live really busy lives, and sometimes our nutrition and really fueling ourselves can come at the detriment and can be sacrificed. So that is what my motivation is with this business and this brand. And I do have a product launching at the end of this month, start of Feb, which is really, and I think that'll really allow people to see and harness the notion that eating healthy doesn't have to take forever. We don't have to spend hours in the kitchen, and if we do, we don't, and if we're not, then it doesn't have to sacrifice on that sort of stuff. So yeah, no, that was definitely, it's turned into Kobe's Kitchen, but yeah, it did start as Kobe's Collective.
I think I was back. I was following you at the stage where it was Kobe's Collective, hence why I remembered it. And I was like, because I remember when your cookbook first came out.
Yeah.
And that's why I messaged you about it, because I was like, I didn't need it back then, but I was like, oh, well, I'm heading off to uni now. Let's go get this like easy, healthy, quick meals that'll be really good for a like med student, kind of uni student on the go.
Yeah.
That leads me into like, what was it like designing and producing your own like digital cookbook?
Thanks. Originally I did want it to be hard copy, but I come back to the convenience side of things. We're not carrying around a hard copy book to Woolies or to what you guys call it, Countdown, don't you?
Well, it's Countdown now, but they're suddenly doing a whole rebrand, so it is going to be Woolies.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you don't carry around generally don't carry around like a hard copy book to the shops. So my thing was, yeah, I want to do it digitally, and I can't take full credit in the sense that I wasn't the one that, obviously I had a big part of designing it and all the photos are mine, but I did have a graphic designer help me out with that. I think I'm really big on branching out on people that have that expertise in it. You know, like time is money. That would have taken me hours and hours. Took us months, but it would have taken me a whole lot longer. So it was a really cool process, and also learning, you know, how to build a website and capture lots of emails. And then when we actually first launched it, there was too much traffic on the website that it crashed, which I'm not going to lie, it was super stressful and I was in hysterics. I was like, oh my God, it's down and it's done and whatever. But that was also a good learning process for when we do launch something new, that there needs to be a bigger, the website needs to be able to hold more people. So yeah.
But I guess that's kind of cool though, that in a sense it crashed because there were so many people visiting it, because you probably were like, oh no, just a few people might be interested. But no, so many people were interested that the whole thing went down.
Yeah, so it's a good problem to have, that's for sure.
Blessing and a curse, so to speak.
Yeah.
So did KK or Foodie Spread come first? And why did you choose to create whichever came second?
So Fruity Spread was first, and it was started off with just like bigger grazing tables, and I always did it for fun, like at family gatherings, like we all do. Make a cheese board, like that's what you have before you have dinner. Have a bit of nibblies. But I did it once for my mom's fitness group, and then I had a couple of people message me like a week or a month later, like, oh, I've got a gathering too. Like, could you do one for me? And I was like, yeah, sure. But it was kind of a bit hard with I didn't know what to charge and like what was appropriate and things like that. So I did a bit of research with never the thought that I would turn it into a business, just so that I wasn't ripping anyone off or ripping myself off. And once we went into lockdown, the whole business idea had to kind of shift, as we weren't allowed to gather in big groups of 30 or 50. So I started doing grazing boxes just for smaller groups, anywhere between 2 and 10. And yeah, now they're the best sellers. So I decided to do Fruity Spread. That kind of just came about. And then the cookbook, so Kobi's Kitchen came second. Fruity Spread really allowed me to have a bit of capital to be able to start things like that. Because even though to a lot of people, it seems oh, it wouldn't cost that much. But to me, it came as a big surprise, building a website and hiring a graphic designer. It all does add up. So yeah, that came second, just with my kind of passion to show people that eating healthy didn't have to take forever. And I created recipes all the time. So I was I'd like to share them with people.
That's so cool though. And so crazy being so young that you've done such a large amount of stuff. And I feel like COVID and lockdowns actually gave us so much opportunity to discover things that we could do, new hobbies, new random bits and things that you wouldn't have thought of doing in the first place.
It gave us a lot of time to think, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. Probably more than we would care to admit at the time, but I guess I
100%.
probably like part of me wouldn't change it for the world because it kind of shaped the person I am now.
Oh, I would 100% agree. I think like I don't know if I would have started both businesses. I probably wouldn't have got into running. So there's always a silver lining, and my heart does go out to the people that really suffered during it. I think especially in Brisbane where I am, we definitely didn't have it as bad as some other places.
We were the same here. We were one of the last places to get it and probably one of the most minimal countries in terms of struggle. But we
Yeah.
had our country was like very like Prime Minister and things were like, yeah, we'll shut the country down. So we did a lot of big long lockdowns in
Mm.
terms of blocking it out because obviously it had taken so long for it to get here. We were like, well, let's try and preserve it for as long as we can.
Yeah.
So that was a lot more thinking time for us.
Mm. That would be right.
So what does like an average day in your life look like?
Oh, yes, it changes again. It's always going to change, but as like a rough overview, if we're talking about me like being on a school day, I train in the morning. That'll just depend on whatever session it is. I usually try get up around that like 4:30, depending on how many orders I have to do that morning block of platters before I head off to training and then school for the whole day. On the weekends, I always try to plan out what's going up on the socials just so that I don't have to stress about that during the week. Yeah, head off to school, then in the afternoon again have training, and again then more like platters again in the afternoon. So during the week there definitely is less than there is on the weekend. I do majority of the grazing platters and tables on the weekends, which allows me to kind of plan and order and do everything else in the weekdays. When I do them, I try to, obviously with the website, I have full control over how many I can take and what time the delivery and pickup slots are. So during the weekdays, it's either in the morning, so I will have made them and then they'll get delivered, or people will come pick them up. And then in the afternoon, again, I can either make them for them to be delivered or picked up. During the day, I hope none of my school teachers are listening to this, but I definitely do a bit of work that is not schoolwork during the day because I kind of just have to use my time as I can. And I definitely think being busy allows me to get heaps done. Like I find if I have too much time, I procrastinate it. I'm like, oh yeah, like I have like 6 hours to do this. Like what?
I feel like I'm so bored at the moment because it's like summer break and Christmas season's over, so I haven't been working my part-time job more hours because there's obviously not as many customers anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm currently in a season of like, well, what do I do with my days?
Yeah, like I feel like I'm twiddling my thumbs. Like, come on,
Like
yes.
I've watched
I
so
do.
much TV and Netflix now that it's not funny. And like I'm at the point where I close TikTok and then 2 seconds later I pick up my phone and I'm opening it again and or I'll
Yes.
turn off the TV and then I'm like, no, what do I want to do? Okay, I've cleared something out and then let's put it back on.
Yeah, that's
It's
me. Yeah, that.
like it's so good though. It gives you that opportunity to like reset. But also at the same
Mm,
time, I'm somebody who really values going, going, going and doing stuff
yeah,
and being
yeah.
productive because if I'm not productive, I don't feel as like good about myself, I guess. That sounds really
Yeah.
bad.
And I know exactly what you're saying. And it's definitely trying to find that balance between being like, no, like I need this rest. Like I can't be go, go, go all the time. But yes, I know what you mean. It makes you feel like you've achieved something for the day and you've got things done and you're moving forward, you know? So no, I do understand that too.
I think yesterday I barely left the couch, but then all of a sudden at 10 o'clock at night, I was clearing out some big like containers of stuff in my closet that I needed to go through before I leave home and move out. I was like, oh yeah, this can be passed on. I'll put this on Facebook Marketplace. And I was like, okay, now I've done my productive thing for the night. Let's go to sleep.
Yeah. Now that it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna try and get some rest. Yes. That always happens.
I always get the randomest motivation to do things at the randomest times.
Yes.
Or you get partway through like a giant declutter and like a giant deep clean, and then you're like, nope, don't want to do this anymore. That motivation's gone, and your room
Yeah, like
looks like a bomb hit it.
half an hour and you're like, actually, this can be a me problem tomorrow.
But then you don't want to have the problem tomorrow.
So you wake up and you're like, oh, that wasn't a nightmare. Damn it.
So I think I have like two more questions. So my next
Awesome.
one is, how do you manage it all? Like doing everything and not like lose a sense of yourself and burn yourself out in there.
Yeah, and I think that really touches on what we were speaking about before is especially over the last, I'd say 6 months, life has really ramped up. Like for in Australia, grade 11 is quite hectic. They squeeze like a whole year's work into 3 terms. So that was definitely a whole nother workload. But I think the way I manage it is I'm really big. I love Notion. I don't know if you use it, but I love it. And the calendar, like my whole life is planned out in that thing. But then again, there's that quote, everyone has a plan until you start getting punched in the face. I think that was Mike Tyson, maybe. Yeah, no, I definitely set out what I need to get done, and also learning to say no to things. Like you don't always have to do everything all the time. And there's a point, especially when you are doing most of it by yourself. Like you can't do everything. It's physically impossible. As much as we'd like to, we can't. But mum and dad are also a really big factor. Like I couldn't do it without them. They constantly give me reassurance. So if I'm, looking to take on a new challenge, they're there to be like, no, that's not good. We can't do that at the moment. We can't do it for now. Like we're not at that point. So yeah, definitely asking for help I think is a big one, and not letting your ego get in the way and thinking that it's always just better to do it by yourself.
What's your support system like? You've talked about your parents. You've obviously got siblings, friends and things like that. How do they find it? Because obviously you're doing a lot all the time. How do you find managing your friendships as well?
Yeah, so I have 3 younger brothers, which again is just adds to the craziness.
Chaos, yeah.
Yep, to the absolute chaos. But yeah, so my best mate Piper especially, she really understands that this is what my life is, and I always try, the weekends, I'm lucky in the sense that I go to an all-girls school and all my friends are there. So I do see them when we're back at school nearly every single day. And I also think the TikTok and the social media allows people to understand it further as well. And I'm super grateful that people support it in the sense that they get it. They're like, oh yeah, well, we'll just do it around that, or maybe we'll have to push it back an hour or do it different times so that I can go to whatever it is. But yeah, the weekends is usually the time, especially at the night when I'm not crazy in the day, that I hang out with all my friends.
Fair enough. Okay. What is your favorite thing about being a girl? Because that's kind of what it's all about, is girlhood and the different things that everyone's doing in different stages of life.
Yeah, I think I probably touched back to what I was saying before about the friendships that you can have as a girl. And I think that doesn't exclude boys not having those friendships. But I definitely think between that year of 9 and 12, when everyone seems to start feeling a little bit more comfortable in themselves and you kind of find out who you are, that you do find those people that you really align with and people that you can see yourself being really good friends with for that next 10 years or 20 years or for the rest of your life. So definitely the friendships I have as a girl and the things we can talk about and the things we can do together. So no, I love that.
I feel like there's just something so special about girls and their friendships. There's something so innocent and pure about them at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody listening wants to reach out to you or find you on any of your social medias, where can they find you?
Yeah, so over on TikTok, my username is me, Kobi Walker. Pretty simple. Kobi with a K too. A lot of people spell it with a C or with a Y on an M, but it's Kobi. They can also my Instagram, which is Kobi Walker _. And in both my bios, I have my link tree that has all my emails and other platforms. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. It's been actually really great having you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode. It's been great having you. If you have any topics you'd love for me to discuss, want some big sisterly advice, or just want to say hey, just reach out to me on Instagram at It's a Girl Thing Pod, and I hope you join us next week. Stay beautiful.